Hello guys, magandang umaga po. This is Nikki, you also known as Faces Trader, and you are watching the Awesome 10X channel. It's July 27th, Tuesday, a day after the sauna. So let's discuss the Philippine markets for today. Of course, it should be apparent that the world is vehemently against what's happening in the Philippine market. You could see that a lot of articles are showing that the meteoric rise of Soto and Moreno shows that a leader can be popular without being a populist, youthful yet decisive, competent without being authoritarian. The future of the Philippines will likely not be defined by Duterte's populism, but by his progressive successors. Strongman Duterte's COVID-19 COVID-19 is ushering in a new generation of leaders. You are seeing a lot of OFWs. There's an opinion article today in Inquirer.net, Don't Leave the Philippines. Me personally, OFWs, also known as the heroes of the Philippines, are simply practical. The money flowed elsewhere, and if they were talented, somebody else paid 300% higher for their skills. Does a Filipino need to apologize for that? Remote work means anyone can work, and remote work means anyone hires anyone globally. So the Filipino situation, of course, losses. These are your Inquirer opinions. The editorial cartoon shows you that loans, a lot of Filipinos are actually having a hard time. Let's read a few lines, okay? So the financial performance of the Duterte administration the first 6 months, first half, exposed the critical fiscal situation that the government is currently in. Expenditures from January to June already exceeded revenues by 560 billion pesos. This is a budget deficit already 1,214% more than the gap in the same period last year. It's a double whammy for this government, expenses rising 27% to 2 trillion pesos, while tax and non-tax revenues declining by 6%. Tagalogin ko po, guys. We are spending 27% more in our house, pero our revenues, kinikita natin, lumiit ng 6%. So, wala po tayong pera. And you could see a lot of articles, latest columns, the question of succession, the pandemic, voodoo governors, Filipinos should seek justice in 2022 polls, lost momentum, sabi ni Chelito Habito, sayang, too bad. We've come a long way building up the momentum for our economy since the latter part of the Marcos Marshall law years, when the economy was flattened by political turmoil and capital flight. In the troubled 1980s decade, the Philippines' annual GDP growth rate averaged a mere, Tapos blaming the wrong party for the ABS-CBN job losses. In yesterday's SONA, this is the most read. Karen Davila, one of the ABS reporters, hitting Duterte's mention of ABS-CBN and Drilon in Fifth SONA. On Twitter, Davila said that the state of the country is important, not about the venue for personal vendetta or feelings. In her tweet, no senator or private company deserves to be mentioned at the opening of President SONA. This is about the state of the country, where we are, where we're going, not about personal vendettas or feelings. People are hungry and jobless. People are looking for inspiration. So, of course, Duterte mentioned Drilon for allegedly, arrogantly making a remark about oligarchs, correlating it with political dynasties. Although the topic was about the president's children who are in politics, Duterte also said Drilon defended the Lopezes, whose ABS-CBN network just lost its franchise bid last month. So, Duterte then went on to say that he was a casualty of the media giant. For those who are not aware, ABS has been off the air since May 5. The House Committee on Legislative Franchises junked the bid for a fresh franchise on July 10. Typically, we don't want to comment on politics, but these are headlines. Those are the headlines. You could see that the Philippine market is a huge underperformer, and we're talking about the global scale here. I'm gonna share to you this very simple chart. Now it's just the facts. We're not giving an opinion here, but the Philippine stocks is already down 25%. Asia's worst performer year to date. Now, if you actually check this in the last 7-10 years, a lot of a lot of global markets went 10x, 1,000%, leaving the Philippines behind, losing not just this year, not just COVID, but for the last so long. Okay, so for so long. This is unfortunate for Philippines. You could see this. Philippine stocks are the worst in the region in 2020. As market diverges from the rest of the world. Do you want statistics? Philippine stocks from 2013 to 2020, compare the Philippines to the overall world, it's very bad. So far, this is what happened in your Philippine market. Nobody cares. This is what's happening in the Philippine market, guys. So your market valuation is a pathetic 4 billion pesos. That's just $80 million. Advancers 97, decliners 97. Although you could say that we actually went up from our intraday lows. Philippine index went as low as 5.8. It closed at 5.9. But, you can't change the fact that we are actually suffering and underperforming on a worldwide scale. The Philippine market, of course, reported some losses for your banks. Your BDO actually reported the biggest losses in a decade, in 11 years. Let me share that article for you. Let me read that for you. So, Philippine market's largest bank posts a rare loss, a loss in the decade, bracing for defaults. So the BDO, largest lender, lost, but the thing is, this is a 4.48 billion peso loss, but this is more of a booking. So they are just trying to anticipate of a potential delinquency happening in the first half of 2020. BDO is joining BPI, bracing for a wave of sour debts as the country faces its worst economic slump in decades following a lockdown to stem the outbreak. So BDO closes 88.95. Bank of the Philippines goes down, up 3%, but it's 68.2. It was 65 yesterday. The provisions are anticipatory, meaning this is just safeguarding themselves. The NPL ratio has already increased to 1.95%. Now, the loss should not be surprising after BDO disclosed a preemptive provision last month. Nikki of head of research of Abacus Securities, said trading gains totaled 6 billion pesos, trying to offset the red ink. However, this will be the bank's first loss since 2008 financial crisis. BPI earlier this month set a provision of 15 billion pesos, driving its second quarter profit down 25% from a year earlier. So our financials are really going, trying to anticipate a potential loss. This is also a news that I want to share for the Philippine market, the BSP. So me personally, so this quote, okay, so me personally, I feel that, everyone is already having a hard time, but banks are still narrowing their credit. So, of course, there's a lot of cheap money globally, helping your Metro Bank, helping your BDO, helping your BPI. You know this because they were able to issue bonds, $500, $600 million for Metro Bank and BDO. But you can see that this isn't really going. It's not trickling down to the average consumer. You could see the Philippine banks are tightening their loan standards for the very first time in 11 years from a survey by senior loan officers gauging the appetite for lending. Senior bank loans officer survey show that respondent banks have clamped down on credit both to the enterprise and the households. This is the first time that the majority of the banks reported tighter credit standards following 44 consecutive quarters. So this is a vicious cycle. Philippine markets, Philippine banks are not lending out despite the overall loose liquidity of the global entities, because they are fearful of defaults or potential defaults. So the BSP is saying that over the next quarter, majority of respondent banks are expected to tighten their overall credit standards on the back of a more uncertain economic outlook, expected deterioration in borrowers' profiles, as well as worsening outlooks both on the industry and company levels, and the bank's lower tolerance for risk. Most lenders are seeing a decrease in overall demand for loans, both from the enterprises and the households. Expect this, however, to rise in the third quarter. So it just tells you that liquidity may be abundant worldwide, but liquidity in the Philippine banks and the consumers are actually not as easy to loan, and the credit cards, interest rates never really budge. So you could have lower rates globally, but if it's not translating to the overall Filipino consumer, I don't know how this is impacting your Filipino consumers. Let the editorial cartoon, at the very least, tell you what the Filipinos are truly feeling. Okay, so you could see that the banks are falling down. Do we go to a new low with this kind of an environment? Provisionary loans are going down. So this has already been an underperformer for already the last 3 months. So you could see that this was your March lows, this is your May 26 lows, and you are now trying to see on the third retest, is this a new low or is this a retest? Those kinds of fundamental news doesn't give any confidence. So that is actually, I'm just giving you the facts. BDO, let's take a look. Okay, so BDO, we've bottomed here at 75. We are retesting now this 85, and now it's 88. BDO is hanging by a thread here, so you could see that the financials are anticipating more losses, and the picture is quite bleak. Same scenario for Security Bank, potential. I'm not saying that I'm not anticipating new lows, but look at the facts. Who's gonna buy a chart like that? Who's gonna buy those kinds of headlines? Maybe you could say, okay, the worst is priced in, but then again, you know what happened. Okay, so ABS gap down, of course. Now it's trading at $7. There are no franchise renewal, so that is a 50% floor here. Because it's uncertain, it could stay lower for a longer time. I'm not saying that it will become lower, like it will go break down to $4, but without any revenues or any catalyst, you can understand why a lot of reporters, a lot of Filipinos are actually complaining. And those complaints are being heard, especially in the SONA. The apparent disregard for most Filipinos. Okay, so now of course this has been on the news on SONA. Duterte was saying, our president is saying that the PLDT and the telephone, the globes, are not doing their job. Okay, that's a sentiment of all the Filipinos. That's true. You can complain about it, but so far we don't have quite an alternative. It's good to actually complain if we can do something about the telephone connectivity, the broadband. But so far, since we are monopolized or duopolized, we have no choice. This is the only broadband connection. I cannot talk to you or conduct my work without my connection. So definitely, the internet is a huge important for our critical importance for digital transformation as a nation. And so you could see that those remarks by Duterte was actually captured by some buyers, 1280. They rationalized it, of course. PLDT is still the only telecom provider. We'll see if Converge will actually do something to solve the problems of the Filipino plight. Globe is, of course, also trying to solve the problem, but as you could see, 2000. So because it's a critical infrastructure, internet is a way of life almost as stable as your utilities like water and light. I'd say that as long as there's no alternative, then we all have no choice but to really just use what's currently available. So far, let's take a look at your water. Manila Water, you've got support at 12. So today, some people might have been bargain hunting, and another support at 11.20. Let's take a look, of course, with your Meralco. Meralco actually didn't go down to 250. water and electricity are such critical infrastructures for every Filipino, you are seeing that Manila Water, Meralco finally rises to 268 after going down to 254 here, an intraday drop. Today, it fell only to 256, closing high 268. That said, we don't see a lot of huge outperformance. Of course, there is a resistance somewhere here at 280 to 290. Now, in recognition of all of your gold and silver going up, some people have decided to start selling down their gold and silver positions. You could see that Apex Mining has already ran up from 120 to as high as 160. We do note, and we have been saying, that there was a supply resistance here at 160 and a very strong resistance at 190. So far, those resistance have become resistance. And so despite gold going up, resistance here at 160 meant that some people sold down. Apex Mining 160 closes down to 149. You buy resistance, you suffer. Okay, Nicolasia, let's see. Okay, so Nicolasia hasn't found a resistance yet. Although here at about 269, it tried to actually, there was some correction going on, closing 257. It might actually have a higher low for your nickel at 230, given that this is a resistance at 269. Take note, this used to be a resistance here. It might take a while. There is a resistance at 290 as well. So for those who are bullish to Nickel Asia, take a look what happens if it goes down to 230. I'm not predicting it goes down, but as it goes higher, there will be sellers, potential sellers from 266 to 296. As it goes down, there will be potential buyers, 230 to $2. Okay, so those are one of your few performance leaders in the Philippine market. Okay, let's see about of course, your gold entities, so your Apex went up, your Felix Mining went up, but again, these are resistances. Take note, these are already resistances. So some people took profits on their gold and nickel Asia positions. That is first sign of a rejection. So people are selling their gold holdings. Those, of course, who got in at 270 are already trying to sell. They trail their stop. Maybe it can go back to 340, but some selling pressure you could see naman. Okay, so let's see. Philippine market, your BPI trying to recover 5%. But yeah, so you could see that the banking space is having a tight moment, having a hard time. Material information about the bank provision loans will continue to haunt everyone in the next few quarters until third quarter or fourth quarter. So although BPI here is stronger technically, I'm not sure if the entire sector is okay. So financials as a group is still very much having a problem. So we don't know. It's kind of hard to predict. Your PSEI, your biggest stalwarts of your PSEI would be your Ayala Land, your Ayala Court, your SM. So far, SM tried to go down to 850, managed to close at 900. You've got supports at 800, 840, so we'll see what happens next few days. Your Ayala Corp trying to hold on to that balance at 700, 712. So close at 722. These are just healthy consolidation, healthy reactions. So yun, Philippine market, a few winners, but overall, really, yeah. So we have advancers 97, decliners 97, foreign net selling 400 million. We continue to have a lot of foreign selling day in, day out. Your dollar peso is 49.40, 49.30. Tama ba? Let's see. Let's take a look at your USD PHP chart. But you could see that this is not about the Philippine market being resilient. It's about the weakness of the dollar. So the weakness of the dollar is, so there you could see the dollar peso is 49.24, the day's range. So this is an overall dollar devaluation move all over. So your DXY, Philippines is able to borrow cheap dollars today, pay low interest rates, and benefit from their peso appreciation. However, we will see, because again, this is a country per country thing. But definitely, you could see that the dollar is having its weakest moment, and gold and all your digital gold has been rising. So there, you could see that this is a very strong long-term debasement of your dollar. Where will it go? Can we go to 49 bucks or 48? It's all about the dollar. So so far, we've already broken that 50 peso mark. Of course, that used to be a strong support that became resistance. And so any rallies back to 50 would probably be sold. So people would continue to sell their dollars and favor some currencies like the pesos. So it really depends on how you trade it, but just telling you what's happening worldwide. Okay, so that's it for you. Thank you very much for the Philippine market update, and see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.